Commissioner Shah, you might want to change the name of your, and I think you're
I'm
muted.
going to do it. It takes a second. Thank you.
Now I'll leave it out to Commissioner O'Sullivan.
All right, thanks, thanks, Elsa, and thanks everybody for being here. Did everyone get an opportunity to review the agenda for today? Are there any edits or changes proposed? Hearing none, we'll move forward with the agenda. The first item on the agenda is public comment. The first item after agenda review is public comment. I know Elsa noted that we do have some members of the public attending. Elsa, are you aware of whether or not anyone has signed up for public comment today?
We haven't had anybody signed up ahead of time, and this will be a good time to remind people how to make public comments. And I put it here on the.
Right, so if there is anyone who would like to make a public comment, you can click the raise hand button in Zoom. So we'll give folks just a brief moment to find that if that's what they're looking for.
Commissioner, I just wanted to let you all know, because this is the technical piece of Zoom, that so right now we are in the settings for this meeting. It's a webinar where members of the public cannot chat. Neither all of us cannot chat. Everything has to be spoken in the meeting. And so if people have any comments, they have to raise their hand during the public meeting only. And if all of you need to share something, we need to just speak that or share your screen if you have something to share. That's the technical limitations we have.
But all commission members are panelists, right? So commission members can unmute themselves and speak when they need to. Is that right, Elsa?
Yeah, it's only the chat that you can't. It's a new thing we can't do.
Okay. All right. It doesn't look like, so nobody signed up for public comment in advance, and we haven't had anybody indicate the intent to make public comment by raising a hand. So we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which under decision-making points, the first item is approval of minutes, and we have two sets of meeting minutes. I believe they are the October 27th meeting minutes, and then was it November 2nd? The chair would entertain a motion for approval of the October 27th meeting minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion, edits, or revisions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the October 27th meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The October 27th meeting minutes are passed unanimously. Moving on to the November 2nd meeting minutes. Are there any edits or revisions proposed? Seeing none, the chair would entertain a motion for passage or adoption of the November 2nd meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adoption of the November 2nd meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Are there any abstentions? All right, the November 2nd meeting minutes are adopted unanimously. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is adoption of our bylaws. I know I have one or two questions about those. Are there any overviews, or actually, Elsa, do you have a suggestion about how to move through the bylaws?
I could share the document or go by one, but that's my only suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. Commissioner Nichols?
I was just going to suggest that we get a motion on the table and a second, and then we can modify, amend, and discuss. I wouldn't suggest we go one by one through them. I think
Okay.
we all had a chance to read them.
All right. So based on Mayor Nichols' suggestion, the chair would entertain a motion for adoption of the bylaws.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Okay, so now an opportunity. Yeah, and I agree with Mayor Nichols that we've had a chance to read them. I do have a few questions. Commissioner Shaw.
Sorry, I'm muting. It looked like there was some maybe old information in here. So option A, open recruitment, it says chair recommends applicants to interview, but we didn't have a chair yet. Commissioners and interview panel, we didn't have a separate interview panel. So there was just a few clarifications, I think.
Yeah, so Commissioner Shaw, I mean, so these are all sort of pieces that we've already moved through. So do you have a suggestion about should we modify the bylaws to conform with what we actually ended up doing, or we could also leave them the way they are and note that future commissions can follow those procedures?
Yeah, I think that if it's going to be the same with two commissioners nominated by the mayor and then 2 by council, then the commission, so that you could just change the bullet that says chair recommends applicants to interview to,
Any member of the commission, or
anything like that.
Yeah, so I agree. It seems like the commission probably shouldn't elect a chair until the 5th commissioner is seated anyway. So
Right.
It does make it probably makes sense to edit that part. Commissioner Juarez.
Yeah, I think you just touched on my concern around the election of the chair prior to the 5th commissioner. So I'm in agreement.
All right, Commissioner Malaba.
While we're talking about the commission chair, I think we should add a line about the rotation of the chair role as a 4.3 addition line.
Okay. Do you have some suggested language for that, or?
The commission chair will serve for 3 months on a rotating basis.
Sounds good.
Take that further.
Sounds good. Elsa, are you able to make notes of these suggestions as we move along? I don't want to move too quickly.
Yes, I am. Are you looking to make the changes and approve them today, or do you want me to change it and then on the next session just,
unless we get into a really complex and detailed amendment, I think we can probably make these amendments and adopt the bylaws today. We'll see if any of them get too complex, but I think for right now we can move forward with the amendments and try to adopt the bylaws. I think Commissioner Juarez is next. Is that right?
No, my apologies. I forgot to put my hand down.
Okay. Commissioner Shaw? Oh, no. Okay.
Sorry, future commissions can change their bylaws, right? So that will just let them see how we decided to function, have the chair role function.
Right.
They could do it differently. So, okay, that sounds good. And I concur with you on, unless there's something major, we could just go forth today.
Okay. So one question that I have, and Elsa, I'm not sure who this could be directed to, but I believe in, let me actually grab my notes just a minute. In section 2.1, there's a note that the final map is submitted to the state of Washington, and in the charter, there's an indication that obviously the new maps are, I guess, kept by the city clerk. But I was wondering, do you know what do the maps get submitted to the state of Washington? And if so, is there a specific entity with the state of Washington that they're submitted to? I'm not sure who was the primary drafter or who might be able to respond to that.
I'm looking in the can you tell me the page? But what I know is that you turn it to the clerk's office, and the clerk's office turns it to the state of Washington for sure. The same office that receives the ones from the state. And so what's your question? Is that like which specific, or who does that? Or the
yeah,
date?
I mean, so my question was stating that it's submitted to the state of Washington is a little bit general. I was just wondering who it gets submitted to with the state and what the process
I don't
is.
have it right now. I can find out hopefully maybe during this meeting.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Malaba.
I do have a question on page 18, and that's on our budget, I believe, in the draft handbook. And then I don't recall the other page that has the budget for the Department of Neighborhoods and the engagement plan. And I think what I'm very curious about is it looks like the DON budget is separate from the commission budget in terms of the engagement plan. Is that the case? My first question. And then my second question, depending on if the budgets are separate, is there any reflection of how the engagement plan from DON can be informed or vetted by the commission? I don't think I saw language around that.
I had some budget questions as well. Is this actually part of the bylaws, or is this a separate part of the handbook?
So the part that I believe the Commissioner Malva is referring to, it's the Appendix 5 on the page 21.
Yeah.
That has a more, larger description on that budget. On the bylaws, I believe, let's see, is it just the process? Yeah, it's different than the bylaws. It's a different decision point where the commission has to make a decision on the budget in general. And I think that the bylaws say how you make the decision about it, and then we'll have to move to that piece of deciding on, it's not part of the budget.
Okay, Commissioner Nichols.
I was just going to say that I think the bylaws are called Appendix 1. The budget is Appendix 2, and then there's 3, 4 on. So I don't think that by adopting the bylaws, we're adopting that budget or really any other part of the handbook, just what's in Appendix 1, I think.
So I would agree with Commissioner Malaba that I think it'll be valuable for us to have some discussion around the budget today, but maybe we can hold that question until after passage of the bylaws. Is that okay, Commissioner Malaba?
That works. Thank you.
Okay. Another question that I had under 6.2 was a question regarding voting. So noting that decisions by the commission are passed by a simple majority, and I wasn't, so the rules around voting permit abstentions. And so the question that I had is, in the event of 2 abstentions, 2 yays, and 1 nay, is a simple majority a majority of those voting yay or nay, or is a simple majority a majority of the entire commission?
I can actually help with that, Commissioner Chair. If the bylaws state that a majority is a majority of the full commission, so that would require three votes, regardless of any abstentions. So in the scenario that you just posed, that motion would not be successful.
Okay, got it. All right, so that, yeah, those were the only questions that I had. Are there any other questions regarding the bylaws from any members of the commission? So it looks like all right, Commissioner Juarez, Commissioner Malaba.
I had a clarifying question unrelated to us voting, but on the RCW, it's referenced, I believe, in page 5, chapter 29A, 76 RCW, that talks about timelines. And I may have missed the conversation where it was unpacked in terms of what happens in the case that the timelines are not met.
I can jump in and do kind of a brief explanation of what our position has been, if the chair agrees.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, so Commissioner Malaba, as you know, there are the state's timeline and the city's timeline, as articulated in the charter, do not match up. Our advice has been to honor the spirit of the city charter in terms of certain timeframes and durations of time, for example, for appointing a districting master, while updating the dates for those timeframes so that it can be done this year rather than by 2022. So the timeframe is the city's recommended timeframe to ensure that all of those action items are done in accordance with state law while honoring the charter.
That's helpful. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Juarez.
So this has to do with translation of the final draft maps from the district master and bringing us into compliance with some King County ordinances that govern election materials that they are mandated to provide, given that they have over 10,000 residents or 5% of the overall population. Elections materials need to be translated into those designated languages. While I don't advocate or propose that we translate agendas or minutes, I do think that it is important to have that within the outcomes of the actual maps, that they be translated into those languages to bring them into compliance with what King County is asking of that elections office. Those languages are Korean, Spanish, English, Chinese, and Vietnamese. And so my proposed language would likely go either, I don't believe it goes in the mission statement. So I'm looking for support on where that might live, but I do believe it belongs in the bylaws.
All right. Any suggestions from staff about where an amendment regarding translation of the final maps might occur?
Is that something we have in the RFP? Requiring the districting master, when selected, to provide all of these materials in those languages?
If I may speak, to answer Commissioner Nichols, we don't have it in the bylaws. We don't have it incorporated in the budget as a chunk of it allocated for interpretation and translation, both things.
Right.
So it's there, but the district master wouldn't necessarily have to do that. We could do that as city, and we can find a way in which to get all the materials in English, of course, and then translate it into appropriate languages, whatever we decide. That's to answer that question. For the first one, Commissioner Juarez, I don't know exactly where it would go. I agree that it should be somewhere, maybe as part of the, under the mission, it would be most appropriate because it could cover everything that we do, and that's, or at least the results, or at the minimum?
The only other natural place that I believe it could fit is under preparation and distribution of agendas for meetings. And we would just change that subheading to say preparation and distribution of agendas and, proposed district maps. And then just have, potentially 5.9.5 or 0.1 or whatever that will be, to say district maps will be translated into the same languages that are mandated by King County to meet the needs of non-English speaking and English speaking constituents.
May
Right.
I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is a good moment to ask for this, because we are going to, as we put it under minutes and agendas, we in general have a practice that people can request for interpretation for certain meetings in the city. I want to make sure that we are aware, and that maybe it can be part of the work that we do, and we can incorporate it as something that we offer. And we not only offer, but seek out to, if people want to be part of this meeting, we have to do some preparation to get an interpreter. And then this is why we got Zoom too, so we are able to do simultaneous interpretation as meetings happen. So if this is something that you want to incorporate now, I believe this as a suggestion would be a good time to also say that incorporated like when needed or when asked to future meetings.
So Commissioner Juarez, would you accept that as maybe an addition to your suggested amendment?
I think that's fine. I want to I'm primarily focused on the maps being produced and translated. I think, the translation of the meeting is admirable, but I'm open to both.
Okay. Commissioner Shaw?
We can finish. I agree with both of those aspects, and I think they actually kind of go together, so that people can participate in meetings and have enough knowledge to comment on the maps. So I support both of those. If you want to wrap, I just had one other question on the, where did it go? Sorry, I scrolled away from it. About the interview panels for the districting master selection and actually commissioner interviews. I don't think we had an interview panel, but for the districting master, unless that includes staff as being part of the panel, can somebody clarify? And do we plan to do that for the districting master, which could be useful since there's a lot of technical pieces to it?
So you're asking whether staff are going to be part of the panel that interviews applicants for the districting master position, or is that the question?
Are they considered the panel? Because that's what the language that's used in the document here.
And which section are you referring to?
So first there's 3.2 open recruitment. This was for the 5th commissioner. So that's the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th point down. I don't think we had an interview panel. But then it does also have that same language at 3.3 for the districting master selection process. And I think it could be useful to have a panel that, has some technical expertise, since there's some it's more of a technical analysis of who to select.
So I wonder if the language is broad enough to allow for either the commission or an interview panel, and maybe the interview panel includes the entire commission and staff, or maybe there's a subset of the commission that are aided by staff as an interviewing panel. It seems like the language as drafted is sort of broad enough to encompass a couple different possibilities. Did you have some suggestions about ways to amend that language, or?
Well, one was this, if we're going back to what we actually did, we didn't have a panel to interview for the 5th commissioner. So I guess that's one point. And future commissions could choose to do that differently, but we didn't do that. And I do think it's broad enough, so maybe it's not part of the bylaws necessarily, but we should have a conversation of what that interview should look like and who should be a part of it. And then maybe you can just leave the language as it is.
Okay. Do you want to leave that as a suggestion, or should we make the specific changes before moving on?
Now that I'm thinking about it more, I think you could leave the second one anyway, interview panel, if folks agree that they would like to have an interview panel.
And just remove the words interview panel from the fifth commissioner portion.
Right.
All right. That makes sense. Commissioner Nichols?
Yeah, yes, I agree with that. I think the language in 3.3 is broad enough that we can pivot if we need to, depending on how many applicants we get, how many bids we get. If we get a lot, then a small panel of technical staff and commissioners might make some sense to bring forward finalists for the full commission. But if there's just a small number, I think we can deal with that as a full commission. My point was under that 3.3, it says that we will review and approve a request for qualifications. And I think we changed it to request for proposal. And I'd just like to, if that is the case, correct that reference.
Yep. So my thought at this point is that it seems like we're getting enough amendments and suggestions, and particularly with respect to the areas around language access that might require some language to be prepared. Maybe at this point it's going to make sense for us to ask staff to work on the language based on the suggestions and the amendments that we've made during this meeting, and hold final approval until the next meeting? Or are there any other thoughts on how to move forward with the bylaws? Do we think that we're able to push through with the specific language around language access and everything else today? And maybe I'll direct this to Commissioner Juarez, because Commissioner Juarez has proposed the issue with respect to language access.
Thank you. I'm comfortable moving forward, and we can, amend if needed. I trust staff will capture the spirit of the comments today, both from myself and Commissioner Shaw around meeting minutes, access during the meetings, and the draft proposal maps around those specific languages of Korean, Spanish, English, Chinese, and Vietnamese.
All right. So just to clarify, Commissioner Juarez, so are you saying that we will be able to finalize it today, or we're asking staff to work on it and finalize it next meeting?
I think that they can potentially finalize it at the next meeting, but I'm okay moving forward with the bylaws as is and making an amendment at the next one.
Okay. Commissioner Nichols?
Yes, I was going to suggest that the amendments that have been suggested are largely grammatical, other than Commissioner Juarez's, which is more of substance, and that I would consider them as the maker of the motion to be friendly amendments.
Okay. So maybe if I'm interpreting your suggestion, Commissioner Juarez, correctly, then maybe we'll adopt the grammatical changes that have been suggested and request that staff maybe spend some time between this week and next week finalizing the language around language access, so that we can adopt it as an amendment to the bylaws next week. Is that fair?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So maybe that puts a little bit less pressure on us, given that we don't have to finalize the language around language access. Are there any other questions or suggested amendments regarding the bylaws for today? All right. And Elsa, can you tell us if you've feel comfortable that you've captured all the suggestions and amendments, noting that there'll be some time before next week to finalize the language on language access.
Yes, and just a reminder that this meeting is recorded, so good for me. We can go back to it. And also, Logan is taking detailed notes, who is the main guy taking notes. So yes, we feel comfortable and confident.
All right, so there's been a motion for adoption of the bylaws. The maker of the motion has recognized the amendments suggested as friendly amendments. That motion has been seconded. We've had discussion, so I think we can call for the question. All those in favor of adopting the bylaws as amended, please signify by saying aye.
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 Right?
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Are there any abstentions? All right, the bylaws are passed unanimously. And this hopefully will give us a good opportunity to, I believe the next item on the agenda is consideration of the process for selecting the districting master, including both the matrix, or what's the document that we're using to review applications?
The score sheet.
The score sheet, and then the interview questions. So I know, maybe Elsa, do you want to talk to us about the process for reviewing applications and scoring applications?
Yes, and I also want to make sure that I properly introduce our colleagues here who are part of the interdepartmental team that helped put together before you guys all were together. And so 3 members of our staff, Harvey Armon from the IT department. It's right there. We have Jen Brandon from the Department of Neighborhoods for contracting. And also we have Jennifer Pettijohn, who you've met before, both of us. So we're here for support. So thank you all for being here. For technical questions and contract questions and all of that stuff. So what we have and what I sent to you after we successfully send out the the districting master out to the world, I sent you 2 things. One, this scoring sheet. Are you able to see something? I'm sharing something on my.
Just a little slice.
Is it too small? This is the score sheet that you all should have. I'm gonna try to see if I can make it bigger.
Also, if you can hide your tools, that also gives us a couple of inches on there.
Yes, I'm just trying not to. I was trying to avoid to do that.
Sorry.
Before we get into the specifics,
Yep.
Can I ask I guess a process question?
Yeah.
We as individual commissioners may have different priorities in selecting a master. This says that 30% goes under number 2, 20% under number 1, and that may not reflect an individual commissioner's priorities. And I'm wondering how rigid we are in terms of having to lay out those percentages or points as opposed to a commissioner being able to make a judgment based on their priorities for what we need in the districting master. And we got to get a different name than master.
Yeah. Agreed. So my thought on this is that the value of a score sheet is primarily to ensure that we're considering all applications equally. I think if different commissioners value different aspects of an application, hopefully that shouldn't be too much of a problem, as long as all applicants are being considered using the same matrix. That would be my thought. Do other commissioners have a response to Commissioner Nichols' question there?
And I wouldn't disagree, Mr. Chair. If I'm looking at the applications, I should judge them equally, but I may judge them based on a different set of priorities or values than you do. And that's what makes a commission, stronger than an individual making those calls.
Exactly, right. Commissioner Malaba?
Yeah, I had sent in notes just highlighting a potential for us to consider a weighted approach, going back to that weighting that we saw in the criteria, because that way, even if different commissioners have different perspectives of what's important, if it's weighted, we're getting to an approach where overall the core competencies remain front and center in the overall scoring process.
And so did you have some specific proposed edits that you wanted to make to the score sheet, or can you walk us through your ideas there?
Yeah, my thought. Yeah, with the specific technical expertise score, keeping that at a 60%, which I see now we've moved it over in terms of this total value point to 30, but keeping it at its core higher level, and then having racial equity be prioritized as well, potentially at a 20%. And then having the cost goal also have some weight there, and then have specific points that can be considered for the other criteria pieces, which are criteria 1, 4, and 5, just be 1 point because it's availability of the person to start the work. That may change a little bit what we have in terms of our draft matrix, but I would ask staff if they have capacity to move us to a weighted approach.
So I'm not sure if I'm completely following the proposal because it seems to me like we are by giving each section a point value. How would that be different than a weighted approach?
I think what we have so far is raw value, unless staff want to unpack, and not really weighted. Elsa, is that the case? We cannot hear you.
Sorry. I couldn't hear your question. You got cut out. Can you say it again?
What we have so far in terms of the points in the score document is mostly total raw value points. They're not weighted.
That's right. I mean, and the numbers, the point value, it's something that we've taken from other proposals, but could definitely be changed.
So I think that the primary question, and help me understand, Commissioner Malaba, if this would address your concern, we could certainly permit more points for it, and it sounded like specifically it's you're arguing that we should weight evaluation criteria heavier. So if there's greater points allocated to greater points allocated to technical knowledge, so evaluation criteria 2, would that I mean, if we allow more points for technical knowledge for evaluation criteria 2, then we would thereby be weighting that criteria more heavily than the other criteria, right?
Yeah, that's an easy approach. We can just simply move points and allocate them to criteria 2 if the weighting option is harder, and then maybe break down these points to have some clarity on when I'm scoring an applicant at 30, that means it's a certain grade of application. If I'm scoring at 25, it's average, or it's some sort of more defined score points, so it does not end up being arbitrary.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely makes sense. Elsa, did you have a suggestion about how I apologize if it's already in the matrix, but I missed it. But how you determine. So for instance, if we were going to leave evaluation criteria 2 at 30 points, how we would determine what a score of 25 out of 30 would be, or a score of 20 out of 30 would be, or is there information about that?
And I can ask my colleague Jen Brennan to add to here, but this is a sum of it. The sum of the total would be the final scoring sheet.
Yeah, so the question though is, within a given evaluation criteria, how would we determine whether an applicant gets 25 points out of 30, 26 points out of 30, 20 points out of 30? So we would need some sort of a definition of what that would be, right? Commissioner Nichols?
Well, that's the judgment that we each have to make as we're going through the applications, is how well did the proposer address their technical knowledge and demonstrate to me that they can do the job in these various ways. I mean, isn't that the value we add?
Yeah, but I think, again, prior to writing down scores, we want to have some agreement about, like, are we assuming that anybody who submits an application is going to get, at least 60, and so we're really grading people on 60 to 100, or like, are we going to be super tough, and if you don't meet every single aspect of technical proficiency, then you don't have any chance of scoring above a 25, right? So in order to ensure that each commissioner's score sheet is reflecting a consistent sort of process, I think maybe that's what we're looking at. Commissioner Juarez?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of struggling with the idea that it needs to be that consistent. I think that if we are, as individual commissioners, within the areas that we have predefined as important, are scoring lower, like that is our input into the process. And so I'm struggling to see why the necessity of the weighted piece. Like, and I'm open if this is an equity question around, like, we need to get them all above 60 to have like a top tier to like consider, but there will be some applicants that we cannot necessarily put into 60 because we're starting at an arbitrary line.
Yeah, so here's my thought on having a consistent sort of decision matrix across commissioners. So if one commissioner is scoring a poor applicant a 10 out of 30, and another commissioner is scoring a poor applicant 20 out of 30, the commissioner who's giving the lower score may have greater overall weight in the process. But if among the commissioners we have a consistent definition for what we may have a subjective judgment that one applicant is not as technically proficient as another, but if we at least have consistency among commissioners, then one commissioner isn't maybe influencing the process to a greater extent than another by having a more drastic scoring differential. Commissioner Nichols?
So in choosing our fifth member, I thought, we didn't have a particular assignment of points or what have you. And yet we came to a conclusion fairly readily. I'm thinking that we will again see a lot of consistency between commissioners, but I think that we lose some of the value if we try and prescribe so tightly what it is that we're scoring, and that technical is 30 and budget is 5. For me, budget is either going to be a check mark, yep, I think this is going to be within budget, or nope, not going to do it. So it'll be a 5 or a 0. But I think that it would be more valuable if each commissioner understood that we're rating these on a scale of 0 to 100, or hopefully above 50 to 100, and that each commissioner at the beginning of that process lays out for themselves how they're going to distribute those points. And that way we bring to the table our own perspective and priorities within this process, as opposed to having it dictated at this point where we don't really know, what we're looking at yet.
Ms. Batchers-Pony?
My suggestion was, I wanted to ask if it would be helpful to hear comments from our IT department, just if you're interested in hearing what should be, or what are the parts of the technical piece that should be weighted more or not, or if they have any comments, and if this will help on how we are adding the number of points to it. It's a question to see if this would be helpful for the process.
Mr. Arnone?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm Harvey Arnone from Seattle IT's GIS team. And looking at the, I think we crafted those bullets there for the GIS and the technical skills. It seems to me that we're going to have some qualifications that are, must have, and then some qualifications that may be, nice to have, if you will. And then of the qualifications that are must have, again, it's kind of a binary thing. I think, like as former Mayor Nichols stated, do they have the skills in analysis that's required to do this work or not? Have they had prior experience in doing redistricting or not? Do they have the skills in ArcGIS Online or not? It's very difficult to grade those and very subjective, very similar to when we just do typical interviews. So I would treat it as more of a kind of a binary thing. Jennifer Pettijohn, my colleague, do you have, not to put you on the spot there, but do you have any other opinions on that?
No, I agree with that. I mean, certainly I can only speak to the technical, but yeah, it is pretty binary the way it's been laid out.
And to clarify, my understanding is that we have a set of minimum qualifications, and so we won't be considering applications that fall below the minimum qualifications anyway. Is that accurate, Ms. Batchers-Pony?
Yes, and you may address me as Elsa. I'm okay with that. Okay. Yes, that was set up for that. Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
In the commissioner interview list for choosing the 5th commissioner, staff had done an initial review and had some recommendations and whether they met certain criteria or not. Will that be also the same in this case, so that the yes, no on the GIS questions could be flagged and reviewed?
Is that a question to Mr. Arnone?
Yes, or if Elsa had a process that she had in mind for scoring on the staff side. Will there be a process, I should just say. Let me rephrase that. I think it would be useful if there was.
If I just say the proposal is, this is the score sheet. We have staff with technical support. The other option, like you had mentioned before, was to include them in the panel or the question. The other piece of it is the second part, which is the questions themselves, like how do we weave through it? So these are the tools that we're proposing to help. To vet who gets to you, I honestly doubt there's going to be a lot of applicants. This is not going to be like 30 applications to review. So that's why I don't feel the need to have a weaving process before. But once you get the applications ready, one thing we could do is just to make sure that they, they have the minimum qualifications before they get to you. And that's something we can do by getting you to at whatever point we decide, 50 above or something. Does that make sense?
I think that would be useful, so that, yeah, that makes sense, and I agree with that.
Especially the technical piece, because I don't know if they have expertise in ArcGIS, and they could claim they do, and you guys who actually understand that might consider it to be BS. That clearly they don't. So having at least a a paragraph or two that looks at the technical response and gives us a sense of how strong the technical pieces, I think that would be helpful. The others, I think, are more generic, and we can deal with or without staff comment. But that one, I think, I certainly would appreciate the technical comment.
Yeah, I would appreciate staff review as well. We would have the staff go in to break down and put it in the SCORE document as well, so we are guided.
And it might be useful for us to get a sense, Elsa, of the extent to which potential applicants have already been in touch with the city. Are you aware of whether or not there are applicants who have already started asking questions and seeking input on the application and the process?
No, I have not received any emails, and we have also opened a survey for questions, and we have not received questions yet.
Okay. Mr. Arnone?
Yeah, sorry, I was just backstepping one. I just want to confirm that, yes, we can absolutely help by reviewing the technical responses. So, we'll just wait to be called upon for that when the time comes, but we can absolutely do that.
Great. And Elsa, my recollection is that there are at least some potential applicants who had been in touch even in advance of the RFP becoming public, right? So we are hopeful that we'll have some applicants. Is that correct?
Yes, and I have reached out to them directly with the information. So I should give you just a general report that I have reached out to the state districting commission staff to help us distribute this to folks who applied, and also for King County, and just distribute it to all the folks who have had any interest with us on census redistricting work. And so I haven't heard anything, but I know there was interest. One quick question I wanted to mention is that, for instance, like we've spoken before, in King County itself applied and got the position. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but as far as I remember, we had this conversation where we asked if the Seattle IT department would be interested in applying for this position. This would put us in a conflict of interest, but I just want to bring it up here since we have Harvey here.
Yeah, Mr. Arnone?
Okay, yeah, we had asked that question, you're right, earlier, and we were told that yeah, it was not desired that we would apply for this position, that it would be a conflict of interest. However, we'll be in a support role for whoever we bring on board for this role, and we'll help them with whatever their technical needs might be, but we won't actually do the hands-on work. Supply them with maybe the software, the data, whatever it might be. And King County had, the King County GIS team, our counterparts over there, had contacted us and expressed interest in applying, and they do have past experience in doing this work. So we'll wait to see their application.
All right, good to know. So I know Commissioner Malaba had some specific suggestions to about how maybe to potentially reorganize or reprioritize the evaluation criteria. But I believe we also might need to cover the interview questions. Maybe we should get back to, and maybe to get back to Commissioner Nichols' question about whether all 5 commissioners should be using the same weighting of criteria, or whether commissioners can maybe make independent determinations about how to weight different criteria. It's my understanding that Commissioner Nichols is advocating that commission members be able to make their own decisions about how to weight different criteria. Do other commissioners have opinions about that, about whether different commissioners should be able to weight the different evaluation criteria differently, or whether we should try to adopt consistent weighting of evaluation criteria? Commissioner Malaba?
Yeah, I mean, I had thought weighting would be the most effective approach, but I do concur with Commissioner Nichols that this is a more simplified version, and it just relies on the responsibility of the commissioners to be able to make that determination individually. So we'll proceed with that.
Commissioner Shaw, Commissioner Juarez, any input on whether it's important for us to adopt a consistent weighting of evaluation criteria, or whether each commissioner can adopt maybe their own weighting of evaluation criteria? So it doesn't sound like there's any opposition to Commissioner Nichols' proposal. And I know Commissioner Malaba has some ideas about how she intends to weight the criteria. So maybe if we're all operating on understanding that the evaluation criteria as articulated in the proposal that staff put together, but that individual commissioners can, so maybe the one thing that we do need to make sure is consistent is that we'll be evaluating each proposal out of a total score of a possible 100.
100, right? Yeah. And then we take the points out of that column as we approach it individually. We then assign what we think are the priorities by assigning points. The 4, 5, and 6 also have the points in the there you got it. That we would each do that, but we would do it based on our own values and perspective. And then we come back, and if we're all on a 100 scale, then it should be, it seems to me, a fair process. It will have a little more complexity in terms of each individual commissioner using their perspective to assign the points.
Quick question. Are we pushing for removal of points per criteria? Is that the direction we're going? Having each commissioner determine the points per area?
Yeah, I believe that's Commissioner Nichols' proposal.
I would find that a little harder to follow as a commissioner on a panel to select folks. I think it's helpful for us to have specific point systems per criteria, and then each individual commissioner gets to determine within that 30 or 40 what the applicant gets up to based on what they have provided in their application.
One way to move forward might be, so staff did provide us with the initial proposal for how to weight each area. So we already have guidance from staff about how, I mean, one way to move forward would be to allow commissioners to change those points as suggested by staff, but to use the points that were suggested by staff as initial guidance. Would that make sense, Commissioner Malaba?
The points that staff provided early were 80% technical competence and 10% racial equity. And I think what we had done here was sort of redirect some of those points allocation. While I think that's a good place to refer to, I think having high-level points, just having been part of an RFP process, if you get really good applicants, it becomes far much harder if it's just open-ended. I think having some sort of sets that you are aiming towards is really far much more effective, in my opinion.
So Commissioner Shaw, do you have some input on this?
I agree with that. I mean, my point when I raised my hand was that we posted in the RFP certain criteria, the 80% and the 20, so that should somewhat match up with what we're, that should align with the scoring criteria because it's published that way.
So maybe Elsa, can you maybe talk us through the thinking in terms of how the criteria was changed between the RFP and between the to the scoring sheet?
Yes, I may ask, Jen, do you mind coming on mute and helping?
There we go. Yeah,
Yes,
sorry.
go for it.
So my recollection, I was just about to go check it, was that we had actually taken that off of the RFP.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't had a chance to have this kind of conversation. And so the 80 and 20 weren't actually published. They were on the first draft, but they weren't on the final published draft. And so honestly, the distribution of points here was a starting point from staff's, thoughts about, based on discussions that we'd had, that we'd heard you have, but that there was really, this is the discussion that needed to happen in order to determine the right spread of points.
Yeah, and that's my shared recollection as well on actually moving the language.
And so, so maybe given the fact that that was removed, we certainly do have the discretion to allocate points either the way staff has proposed or to, and again, and maybe I can phrase it this way. So Commissioner Malaba, do you have, so if the process moving forward is staff has given us a proposal for how to allocate points, and each commissioner can use that proposal as a starting point, but can alter those points based on their own independent judgment. Do you feel comfortable with that process, or do you want us to, would you like to have a more consistent process?
I feel comfortable with that process. I think the weighted approach was one that I thought would help us. But I think there's clear consensus that we want to have more flexibility for the commissioners to be able to determine their own points.
Okay. All right, Elsa?
I just wanted to clarify, how do you and when would you want to have staff input? If it's before or after, or what's, especially on the technical piece?
Yeah, so I think that the commissioners are pretty hopeful that we have staff input before having to score any technical application.
So what we could do is make some notes or give a score. I just want to get a good sense so I can give directions to our colleagues in the IDT. If we have the applications, we'll give it to them. They'll give us a scoring number or comments or both.
Well, so because for a lot of the technical pieces, the information that we've received is the proficiencies either exist or they don't. So particularly for any proficiencies where it's a binary, they either exist or they don't, then we're definitely going to want that information. It may also be beneficial to have scores and or comments from staff, but I think the most important input is that for us to have is going to be whether or not the specific technical criteria exist. Commissioner Shaw?
I would agree. I think that it would be useful to have a score and notes, because I think people can have experience in something and not necessarily expertise, and it could be fuzzy if it's like an actual just yes or no continuum. And for the technical part, we probably should have a minimum criteria in our scoring. They have to be able to produce the maps. Right. So
all right, Commissioner Juarez.
Apologies. I do think there is some necessity around like that last question of, can the map be produced? And any recommendation that we give and any of our scoring should ultimately like be informed of, can they get us to the finish line? And I don't want to lose sight of that. So I appreciate Commissioner Shaw and others who have brought that up.
So given that, it sounds like we've got consensus on how we're going to approach the score sheet. Do we want to spend some time on the interview questions then, or are there more? Is there more discussion on the score sheet before we move on? Maybe we can move to the interview questions. And so it looks like staff has proposed the interviews to have 10 minutes for the presentation, 10 minutes for commissioner questions, 5 minutes. Actually, maybe also, can you help me understand the time proposal there?
Are you able to see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Technical stuff. So I had the yellow marked because, you know, there's a lot for 30 minutes, but due to our time constraints and meetings, so this will be a 30-minute distribution. The first 10 minutes will be for the presentation. The next 10 minutes will be for asking questions. And then the other 10 minutes will be for answers and just clarifying open questions to it. So the first one, in that presentation, we're proposing that the interview will start by having it for the applicant the opportunity to present, and this will be given to them so they know what to come and present to you, which will include basically how would you turn in the maps and your communication strategies to the general public with all levels, and then their approach on just in general their approach. And so then the next piece will be just questions, follow-up questions. We will probably have to review them before to make sure that they match, and then give an opportunity for them to ask questions to the commission or from and then we'll just share any other follow-up questions that we may have. Does that make sense?
So I think one, because there's a couple maybe different ways for the process to move forward. One would be to assume that the whole commission will be present for all of the interviews, and then another process would be to have a subset or a subcommittee of the commission be available for potentially longer or more time-consuming interviews with maybe staff participation on the interview panel. So do commissioners have a preference for sort of, it looks like the proposal by staff is that these interviews take place at probably a regularly scheduled meeting, and that all commissioners be part of the interview process. But if we had, we might be able to have longer or more in-depth interviews if we had a smaller subset of the commission who was designated to do this. And any thoughts on that? Commissioner Shaw?
Do we have a target number of interviewees that we'd like to speak with? Are we assuming that there'll be 3? And so it's half an hour. This is for...
Yeah, and maybe also, can you remind us what, do we have one date that we have allocated for interviews? And I think you're just on mute.
I need to check again because now I'm confused, but I think it's 6th or 7th of December where we have it scheduled for a meeting.
Yeah, that's right.
So we have one single date. Okay, so yeah.
Well, we had published December 6th to 7. I'm kind of leaving those open, and that can change.
All right, Commissioner Nichols.
So it seems to me an ideal number would be 2 or 3, but as with the 5th commissioner, we had 2 applicants who clearly rose to the top in the minds of all 4 of us. That might happen again And so I think we should leave it a little bit flexible, depending on the responses we get and then how we each score those responses. We might, again, have two that rise right to the top, or we might have a third one that's very competitive as well.
Right. Yeah, and actually fitting 3 interviews into if a 1.5 hour meeting time without any breaks in between, that would actually be pretty challenging for us to conduct all 3 interviews in a single day. So yeah, we may need to try to be a little bit more flexible if it turns out we do in fact have 3 or more really strong applicants. Commissioner Malaba?
Yeah, I want to agree on the 2 candidates, agreeing with Commissioner Nichols. I think having 2 top tier folks coming out of our review process can allow us to have more time. While they could be excitement to bring in a 3rd candidate, that may just be additional time. But our scoring process can really tell us who are the top 2 and coming from there that can help us be more efficient.
Right, and I think it's also going to be really dependent on the level of consensus among commissioners, right? So if some commissioners find 2 of the applicants to be the strongest candidates and other commissioners find 2 separate candidates to be the strongest applicants, that's going to, I think, create a lot more challenges. So hopefully, once we see the applications, we'll be able to develop a consensus on the applicants. But I think until we've had a chance to review applications and score those applications, we may need to. We'll just have to see how that goes. Commissioner Malaba?
Quick question on the commissioners finding different candidates as top tier. I think our scoring process can help us avoid situations where we all have different top tier candidates and really have an overall total of these are the top 2 that came from the combination of all of the 5 commissioners. And I want to advocate that we move in that direction in the interest of time and the timelines that we do already have.
So are you suggesting that we make, so I mean, one way to do that would be to move forward with the allocation of points as suggested by staff rather than allowing the flexibility. So because the previous discussion, it seemed like the consensus was to have more flexibility among individual commissioners. But so is it my understanding correct that you're suggesting that we move back to a more consistent scoring between commissioners?
Yeah, my slight understanding was we are going back to what staff has proposed instead of the weighted approach as I was proposing. And then to Commissioner Nichols' point, which was more, we want more flexibility. My thought is if we're going with the staff proposal, there's still more flexibility for you to determine what's worth 30 or what's worth 25, but there's a top tier score system that's keeping you within a certain range. And with that, we can have a total that staff can pull together based on what I would have worked on and what the other commissioners would have worked on. And in that way, we come up with 2 top tier folks who have the highest points.
So I think it's Commissioner Nichols' proposal that commissioners actually have the flexibility to allocate different points to each evaluation criteria than what has been recommended by staff. And so just to clarify, Commissioner Malaba, are you suggesting that we not allow that flexibility anymore?
I'm suggesting that we go back to the staff proposal and folks can determine what is 30 within your own scoring, or what is, if within this 30-point range for the technical competences, maybe you are scoring at 25 instead of 30. That's a flexibility that I see within that you would have a full range of allocating points. But I struggle with the full blank, go ahead and score folks without a specific number or tier that was scoring them by.
So, and so go ahead.
I'm just going to be really vulnerable in this moment that I have lost the plot here in terms of how we are deciding the rubric of this moment. I felt like we made a decision. Now we're coming back to it. I don't quite understand where we are. So if we could just maybe have a timeout and be like, what is the decision we made? And is there a proposal on the table to modify that?
Yeah, so let me be a little bit more specific. So my understanding of the decision that we made is that staff provided us a scoring matrix. That scoring matrix had a certain value for each evaluation criteria, and that our decision was that while staff has provided guidance with respect to how we weight the different evaluation criteria, that we as individual commissioners would be able to change the total number of points for each individual evaluation criteria. It's my understanding now that Commissioner Malaba is suggesting that we revisit that question, and that while individual commissioners may have their own independent judgment with how to allocate points within an evaluation criteria, that we actually honor the staff suggestion with respect to the total. So let me be specific, Commissioner Malaba. So as a commissioner, would I, under your proposal, would I have the independence to say, I don't think evaluation criteria 2 should be out of a total of 30 points. I only want that one out of a total of 25 points, but I'm going to increase evaluation criteria 3 from 20 points to 25 points. Would that be okay based on your proposal, or are you saying that we should be governed by the staff proposal, which is the evaluation criteria 2 has a maximum of 30 points for all commissioners?
I think we should be governed by staff proposal, but of course have the liberty of what range you are putting it at, because that way we have far much more consistency than me looking at technical competence as I think it should be 60, and someone else looking at it as I think it should be 30. But if we're all looking at it as a 30-point system that you are giving a point to, I think we can get to a point where ultimately we have an overall total score that has used consistent criteria.
Okay, so yeah, and so it's my understanding then that previously in this meeting, the consensus was that individual commission members would be able to adjust the total number of points for each evaluation criteria. Commissioner Malaba has raised the concern that that may result in different commission members rating different applicants as the top applicants. So Commissioner Nichols, do you share Commissioner Malaba's concern in that respect?
No, I don't. I believe that it will reflect our individual perspectives. I think that's a strength. And I don't think it's going to be that big a spread between, I think that we're going to get a relatively small number of responders. And I think each of us having our own perspective on that is a strength of my proposal earlier that I thought we had agreed to. I don't understand why we're redebating it.
Well, so I think Commissioner Malaba has raised the concern that having different points allocated to different evaluation criteria may result in commissioners evaluating different applicants as the top applicant. So maybe Commissioner Wires or Commissioner Shaw can weigh in on these proposals or concerns. Is there anybody who shares Commissioner Malaba's concern that allowing different commissioners to weight or to score different evaluation criteria differently? Commissioner Shaw?
Frankly, I think either way we might end up in the same place, but given that we all agree that there has to be a certain amount of technical competence to produce the maps, there'll be the way that staff has proposed this weighting, I think it would align with very closely how I would weight the criteria. So I'm fine going with staff's proposal and support Commissioner Malaba's point of view. But I also agree with Commissioner Nichols that I don't think, it doesn't sound like we're going to get a huge number of applicants, and it's going to be a big spread anyway.
Commissioner Juarez?
I agree. I think the spread, given what we've already communicated as our shared values, I don't think it can diverge that widely. I do want to leave maximum consideration to commissioners, given that we agreed on the buckets that we're working with, to be able to input on those buckets. And you know, like Commissioner Shaw, I do agree with you, Commissioner Malaba. I'm not sure that I want to open up and change that to give less flexibility to each of us to make sure that we are evaluating as we see fit in our jobs as commissioners. So I'm fine taking the staff's recommendations at this point.
Okay, so it's my understanding that Commissioner Shaw and Commissioner Juarez are both suggesting that we adopt Commissioner Malaba's recommendation, which is to try to keep our scoring within the evaluation criteria total point allocations as recommended by staff. Now, maybe Commissioner Nichols, if you decide to score things a little bit differently, I don't know if there's any way we can stop you, but given that it seems to be the consensus of the other commissioners that we're gonna, as closely as possible, stick with the staff recommendations, is that something that you can live with?
Well, here's a philosophical issue with that. We're commissioners. We were appointed by the council and the mayor to represent our perspectives, not simply accept what staff gives us. I respect what staff has done. They've supported the commission very well. I just don't think that our job is to say, staff says that, so that's what we're going to do. I think we take that under advisement and make decisions based on that. So, you know, whatever, as you say, we're each going to score it using our own perspective anyway. And if staff tells me it's going to be 30 points, I may just decide, well, fine. I disagree.
Yeah, I think that I'll just chime in here in that I would like to purposefully make it open so that we have that ability and we are informally agreeing to a framework of decision making, but know that like we can make those determinations as individual commissioners. I'm comfortable with that arrangement.
Okay, so I'm going to concur with Commissioner Shaw that I know that I intend to, I don't have any objection to the framework that staff has provided. So I believe when I score applications, I'm probably going to be sticking with the framework as recommended by staff. Commissioner Malaba, do you have any other thoughts on this topic?
I agree with Commissioner Shaw and yourself in terms of this being a framework that we can work within, and I appreciate that folks do concur on that. But responding to the philosophical perspectives from Commissioner Nichols, I think I agree we should bring forward our own opinions here as commissioners, and we should also recognize that staff is capacity that's provided to us to help shepherd and move this forward. So there's a balancing line of us making sure that we're utilizing that capacity as well.
So I'm going to note that we only have 3 minutes left of our meeting time. And I think we've had sufficient discussion to get a sense of what our intentions are with respect to how we're going to evaluate applicants. I don't know that we need to take a vote or make a recorded decision. Elsa, are there other issues that you want the commission to consider about the process for evaluating RFPs or the interview process?
For this particular one, I wanted to ask if you would be interested in our next meeting to invite members of staff and to share with the commission their redistricting data. And so that will give you language and more information as you are reviewing your applications. So this will be that session where we bring the redistricting dashboard that it's in our website right now. You can look it up, but our senior Jazz, Jennifer Pettyjohn, who put it together, will walk us through it. And that will just give you, in my mind, more information as you're making those decisions. So I just wanted to put it in there for our next meeting. But in regards to the other piece, I'm fine. We'll take notes, we'll change things, and then we'll probably bring it to you next week, as we don't have to score interview applicants yet. So in our next meeting, we will present it for you, or before, for just your final approval.
Okay, and also you'll also be working with Commissioner Juarez on language with respect to an amendment to the bylaws that includes the language access
Yes.
ideas. Okay, I believe Commissioner Nichols had a hand raised. Is that right?
Elsa, so what you're going to bring to us at the next meeting will be a review of the data. And you made some reference to that's already posted or somehow available. Where would that be?
Yes, it's I can send it to all of you. It's in the website, the redistricting website, and there is under I can't believe it's under the resources. Or Logan, if you can remember, maybe I can go right here and show you right where it is.
And so you're referring to the Seattle Redistricting Commission website, is that
That's
correct?
right. It's already there, but we can have staff walk us through this dashboard. There was maps and resources. That's what it's called.
Great, thank you.
This right there. And this is where the data is already.
And Commissioner Shaw?
I just wanted to clarify for the interviews, if there are additional days that we should be holding, please send out calendar notices, because it gets really, challenging otherwise to do it at the last minute.
Yeah, actually, Elsa, maybe you can coordinate offline to see if there are other days that the commissioners are available for interviews if needed.
Yes.
Are there, let's see, was there any other agenda item? I don't think so.
One more thing I wanted to just say, I wanted to give you a one-on-one call just to follow up on some administrative stuff that I need from you. I want to make sure that your folders are set up, their email works, and just to do that. So I'll probably call you and just have a one-on-one with me to go over just stuff that administrative we need. And then we can go over calendar as well. So expect an email from me.
Okay. Commissioner Shaw? All right. With that, I think we've concluded all the business for the meeting, and the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. All right, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.